check out the two words, a nickname, ReRe, ReRe, research, resource. Now, resource is usually looked at like a noun or, or adjective or whatever you want to call it, but a resource is like basically a byproduct or an acquisition of something of some sort. But either way, it pertains to your growth and things that you may need or want. That's a resource. But then to source, like to have source, to say this is source, that's like saying what they call God or what they call the origin. They call it source. So for anyone who thinks that trying to acquire items in life is all materialistic, this is not entirely the case, because source also means God. So how do you resource? That's basically return to God, return to sender, return to producer, return to source, return to origin. Resource, you can be a resource, you can be a benefit, what they call it. So they like to put these terms on, like with research, they say I want to research this, right? We say to search, and then we say to research, but we don't say to source and to resource, right? We usually put something in between it, because that's part of the programming to get source, to take the divine and godly definition out of source. So it'll be a whole bunch of things in between it, and we're saying we're trying to get resources. We got human resources, right? We're trying to get things. But to resource, to use it as a verb, is what we really need to practice if we're going to be on the occult side of things. How do you resource? How do you return to that original state? How do you resource? Because they say, like your sources, we say check your sources, check your origins, check your beginnings. But how do you recheck your beginnings, to get in touch with them again, to redo, to repeat source, over and over and over? So you got this cycle of the two ReRes, of research and resource, and both of them deal with force, but only one of them deals with source. To search and to research leads to not necessarily the same conclusion, but it's the same exercise. Whereas to source something and to resource something is not. To source something out, what do they say? They outsource it. So a source has to go somewhere. They'll either insource it or outsource it, like import it and export it. So all of these things pertain to source, but the true definition of source doesn't really get defined as much as search. That's the first RE. The second RE is the one that's more difficult to define, because it's cloaked in a lot of different coded language just by using the word source. That's why it doesn't get used as often. So this is the mystery of the two ReRes: to research and to resource.